When you drive a tuned turbocharged car, you're upping the power, and that's a lot more compressed air that's going into the motor. So with that, you're bound to have a lot of heat soak on the stock factory intercooler. To combat that, aftermarket intercoolers do exist. There's different types. In this video, we'll be taking an in-depth look at our factory intercooler off of our 2024 Audi S3, and also a aftermarket tube and fin, and our aftermarket bar and plate. We'll be discussing weight differences, measurement differences, and at the very end, we're also going to look at a driving data log. And here we have our factory intercooler off of our 2024 S3. This is your standard design, typical VW Audi parts from either the GTI or Golf R. They all look sort of similar to this. The Golf R just maybe a little bit thicker. But let's take a look. These things are pretty light. You got plastic end tanks, so the weight is about 8 to 10 pounds, give or take. Under 10 pounds for sure. You can pick it up with one hand. Looking at the outlet port, I think it's the same size as the previous gen here, but let's just take a look at that overall design of that end tank right there. Now if we take a measurement with this, it is just under 1.5 inches, so that's pretty thin, again, especially if you have a tuned car. Looking at the inlet ports, it is just under 2.5 inches, give or take. And overall, once you start upping the power, you need something that's a little bit more efficient. With that being said, to get to this intercooler, there's a lot of steps involved. Similar to Mark 7, you have to remove the front bumper, remove the headlights, crash bar needs to come out. If you've done it on the Mark 7, you can do it on the Mark 8. Small differences between the two, to be honest. So I'm not trying to deter you away from doing this. Now, this chart is pretty cool. It's taken from APR's website. And before we jump into the two other intercoolers that we'll be showcasing today, I wanted to kind of discuss the different styles and also how density affects the effectiveness. So this chart right here does a pretty good representation of what you should expect when choosing an intercooler. You want to make sure you get something that is dense but not too dense to allow for the most effective cooling. Now what I mean by that is, if you look at box number 2, that bar and plate design, it's a straight channel. The density is pretty low, which means that the pressure drop is going to be pretty low, which you would think is a good thing, but then it doesn't allow enough time for that hot compressed air to get cooled down, so you'll get higher IATs. Now, if you have something that's too dense, which is box number 4, sure, you have all the time for it to cool down as it passes through the intercooler. However, now you have a lot of PSI drop because that turbocharger has to work harder just to maintain that specific boost level as it passes through that really, really dense intercooler. So box number 3, you want to find like a happy medium that gives you the best of both. You want to make sure there's not too much pressure drop, but also that it's not too dense. Now, with that being said, here is our tube and fin. This is a Wagner engineering intercooler. Goes in the stock location. It's a pretty good unit. Let's take a look up close of all the different features and build quality and stuff like that. Wagner Tuning, it's a German company, and these intercoolers are pretty popular on the Mark 7s. This is, again, the tube and fin design. Get an up close look. I'm sure the cooling on this is pretty great, but just trying to showcase you the overall build quality, the overall setup of the Wagner intercooler. You can see that the end tanks right here, they're a lot bigger than the plastic ones. Here we have our Forge UK. Now this is our bar and plate version. Now this is the chonky boy because the inlet and outlet ports. They're a lot bigger. It's the biggest on the market that I could find. And this thing is also super thick. I haven't really seen too many. Actually, I haven't seen any Mark 8 or S3 running the forged intercooler in the US. So maybe I'm the first one. I don't know. Comment down if you have a forged UK intercooler, guys. Take a look at the port right here. Port is bigger than stock. And take a close-up look at that right there. These end tanks are massive. This thing is chonky, like I said. The air piece is right there. I love the look on this thing. And yes, it is heavier than stock and also heavier than the Wagner. Take a look at both side by side here. You can see as we go down, the forge starts to get wider and wider as we hit the base of the intercooler right there. The inlet and outlet ports on the forge is also a little bit larger. It's about 3 inches, while the other Wagner is about 2.75, if I'm not mistaken. So again, just bigger. You can see the differences right there. Here's the Wagner on the left side, the forge on the right side. Both of these look really nice, man. Woo! Oh man, I love talking about car mods. So let's see here. So we got the measurement right here. It's about, what is that, like 2 inches or so? Yeah, these are just rough estimates, about 2 inches. This one, you got about 3 inches on that end tank right there. Here we have us getting back to reassembly. And like I said, this thing is pretty involved to get the intercooler done. You have to rip off the whole front end and all that. Let's take one more close look at the forged intercooler. We've got handmade by Kyle and checked by Dax. So Dax, our performance is in your hands. Oh man. Okay, so let's put this bad boy in there. And it's a really tight fit, guys. It took me a little bit. I did this whole job solo. It would be a lot quicker with 2 people, but doing it solo, get everything in alignment, it's like I said, it's pretty involved right there. We finally got it in, and man, this thing is a tight fit. Everything is super precise, like fit to the T. I've never seen an intercooler fit this well. Now again, the DO80 that I had before was pretty good, but this thing, with just the overall size of it and thickness, there was no room for error. And I took my time on this because I want to make sure everything was set up properly. Another thing to note, guys, take a look at this. These are the boost pipes right here, or the intercooler pipes for both the Wagner on the left side and then Forge UK on the right side. So the left side, again, they advertise 2.75 inches on the inlet, but you can see that tapers down pretty quickly right after the port connection, so it can hook up to your factory boost pipes, while the other one, it's just a lot thicker, and I think it has more of a slower gradual taper down to the factory boost side. So just something to note there. And now as we're installing the bar and plate intercooler, we're getting the intercooler hoses on right here, and this is pretty straightforward. It didn't take too much time to get that on there. Just kind of wiggle it on. This intercooler has a lot of different ribs on the actual inlet and outlet ports to prevent slipping. All right, now we're putting back the factory headlights. Again, just the overall process. It takes a couple hours to get this job done. Putting on the front bumper. This kind of feels like the home stretch. Once you get that front bumper on, it's just like, oh, we're almost there. But again, you just got to take your time, get everything aligned properly. And when it comes to weight, guys, we have our Wagner tube and fin right here. This is sitting at 21.6 pounds. So heavier than stock, but still 21 pounds for an intercooler. Not too bad, right? Tube and fin design for the amount of volume that you get. Here's our Forge UK bar and plate. This one is 28.8. Definitely heavier, but again, this is also bigger and just has more volume. Now here we have some driving data. We're just cruising along in Mexico right here. You can take a look at that. Our screen on the access port, the bottom right corner, it says 61. That's 61 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the current IATs as we're cruising down the highway in Mexico. 61 degrees, right? Now if we pan back over to our ambient temps, it's at 57. So what is that, like 4 degrees above ambient cruising? Now let's take a look at some actual data logging. For those of you who are not familiar with this, let's start off step by step to kind of break it down for you. The first thing we have here is our gray line, and you can see those little spikes. It drops and then it spikes up again and then drops. That is the RPM that the engine is at during the data log pull. So we did a full third gear and fourth gear pull all the way to red line. So let's go ahead and pan over here. Now this orange line right here, this is going to represent pedal in the vehicle. So as you see it spike up early on, that's me putting a full throttle on the car. And you can see that full throttle holds all the way through the third gear and the fourth gear before I let off, and it goes back down to 0. So this is a stage 2 E85 setup that we're on right now. Now we have 2 more lines that we're introducing. A green line that's flat across the board. That is going to represent the ambient air temperature, so the air temperature that's outside. And then we also have the blue line. Now the blue line kind of staggers down a little bit, kind of looks like some steps. The blue line represents your intake air temperatures. When it comes to the intake air temperatures, you can see that we start off, we did a full throttle, right? We're about 6,500 RPM and it lands just about 76 or so IAT, which is going to be about 10 degrees above ambient, which is pretty good. You're seeing that at high RPM, 10 degrees above ambient. It's great in my opinion. Now let's take a look at the fourth gear. At the ending of fourth gear, we've got the ambient air temperature again. It's 65 degrees. And then the IAT, it starts climbing up a little bit at the top of fourth gear. This is at 83 degrees. Now that's about 17 degrees above ambient. Which again, in my opinion, it's not bad, right? 17 degrees, that's pretty good. So throughout one of the highest points in third gear, you're 10 degrees above ambient. And then as you're topping out in fourth gear, you're 17 degrees. So it jumps about 7 degrees between 2 different gears. Now we're getting super technical here. Obviously, results can vary between car setups, weather conditions, tuning, all that stuff. Again, this is just to show you my personal data on my car as I'm going through with the build process of this. Again, it's going to be different, right? If we're doing like a 40 or 60 roll, you're already at a higher RPM. So this particular IAT level that you're looking at right here, it could be a lot different, right? Again, we're pulling from low RPMs, about 2,500 RPMs all the way to red line through 2 different gears. So we're getting like the full reading across. So there you have it, guys. This is the quick and short little breakdown. Hopefully this video helps you guys pick an intercooler out. I'm going to be doing some more testing on the car as everything progresses, but for now I'm loving how it drives. I think this intercooler is a great option. Yes, it's a little bit on the heavy side, but barn plates are usually typically heavy. For the amount of volume that you get, this thing is, again, it's very chunky, right? So I think it's a good option. Forge UK, again, probably one of the first US cars to be running it. I haven't seen anyone run it yet, so we got more videos coming. Stay tuned for that. We're going to do a lot more testing. If at any point in time you enjoyed this video, give it a like. Helps the channel grow, and hope to catch you on the next one. Peace.